What agreement, if any, did bus drivers and bus companies come to end the strike? Will bus companies be able to get all their commuters to their destinations this weekend? Did SATAU deliberately target the Easter period for a nationwide strike? And would the taxi industry be able to cater for the additional commuters who will be traveling long distances? What time is it? It's question time. Hello and welcome to the show. My name is Mpho Sedu. Thousands of bus commuters had to seek alternative transport for the last few days after bus drivers embarked on a strike. The nationwide action was likely to pose a huge inconvenience to those intending to use buses to ferry them to their homes, holiday destinations and church pilgrimages. Now that the strike is said to have been called off and an agreement is said to have been reached, we question the impact of the strike, the likelihood of long-distance bus trips running smoothly this Easter weekend, and the taxi industry's role in ensuring commuters get to their destinations safely. We are live, and therefore you can call us and air your views on the following numbers: 089-1104-210, our Twitter handle @QuestionTime24. My guest, Theo Malele, he's from the National Taxi Alliance, he's the spokesperson there, and Zenzo Mahlangu is SATAU General Secretary. And on the line we are joined by Reverend Emmanuel Mutola from the Zion Christian Church. Gentlemen, let me welcome you all.
Thank you.
Dr. Mutola, let me just start with you. We are hearing a possibility of some good news for millions of your church adherents in as far as this strike is concerned. What are you able to tell us?
Yeah, we are very much elated at this time because we were really disappointed and frustrated when we had the news that, this impasse of the strike is definitely going to affect us. And when we say us, we are talking about the staggering figure of, say, 10 million people. So, at the end of the discussions and even negotiations, we have just received some good news to say buses will be allowed to ferry our congregations to Moriah, City of Peace. What is more important during this time of year is that the bishop will deliver an annual message to his congregations. As I said, the figure is so much important that at the end of the day, they will be holding this meeting throughout the year as a message to them on how to behave, especially during this time of turmoil or uncertainty. So really, we're really going to be disappointed if this could not be resolved.
So what are you saying? Are you saying that the information that has come through to the headquarters of the ZCC is the strike has been called off, or there will be transport arranged or buses arranged to ensure that members of the ZCC get to Moriah this weekend?
We are very, very certain because the information, as it is from reliable information, comes from the whole management of PATCO. We have been able to receive this message to the deputy manager of PATCO, and at the end of the day, the one who again confirmed that message is the man right at the head, the number one PATCO. So he was saying they have some few issues there, but they will be able to solve them. One is that some of the drivers have already gone home for a holiday, but fortunately they are able to contact them and say, gentlemen, let's hit the road and make sure that the members go and see their bishop and listen to how he's going to tell them how to continue with life right away from Sunday onwards. So fortunately, the office here has been able to contact all our districts to say, please make sure that everybody receives this information. And that is why we say we are 400% certain that this will be the case.
How was the strike going to impact on your preparations for the pilgrimage?
The strike was going to impact us negatively. I'm saying negatively, not only to the Zion Christian Church. As you know, that the Zion Christian Church there stands for everybody and prays for everybody. And at the end of the day, this is where we feel our bishop, because the Lord up there has never failed us, particularly if our own spiritual leader stands before everybody to say, this is how I'm going to guide you on how, to navigate in these very difficult times. So at the end of the day, it was going to impact the SABC members because they would get confused on how to get them to be able to navigate. At the same time, these very prayers will be spread in the various areas where they are, and they will continue praying for what the bishop will be telling them to pray for.
Okay, Mtata Mtola, hold it there on the line. Let me just come to our guest here in studio.
No,
Satau, as you can hear, the message has come through, but it wouldn't appear there's a concrete deal, which I'm sure you may not be able to talk about. Let's just get Satau's point so far.
Look, we don't know about any strike that has ended. We don't know who called the strike off. What we know as Satau, as the majority trade union in these negotiations, we have not signed any agreement.
Okay.
So the strike is still on.
All
the
right.
demands are still the same.
Mm-hmm.
We have received a revised offer yesterday from the employers, which offer we still consulting with our members countrywide. Mm-hmm. And probably will finish consulting later today and will respond to the employers.
Has there been any move towards a solution in the last 3 hours?
We're still consulting. There is no movement in particular that I can talk about. Mm-hmm. I can only talk about Satau as a trade union currently. A decision to end the strike will be a collective decision, as it was when the strike was called on. Mm-hmm. So it's a collective decision. We still have to come together and exchange views as trade unions that are involved in this strike. So it's something that is possible. I can't rule it out, but it is possible that we can come to some kind of a consensus.
Okay.
Either later today or tomorrow or any other day. Remember, the strike is continuous. There is no holiday.
Okay.
Yes.
What are your demands?
Our demands, we started with 15% across the board. On pensionable salaries, we did revise our demands. We're sitting at 12% as we speak, and we're not saying we're positional. There's still a possibility, depending on the manner and the approach these negotiations take or the direction. We demand that the core drivers also be paid whilst on the road. Mm. And the employer is simply refusing and saying they can only pay when the foot is on a pedal. Mm. And we're saying it is wrong. It must be corrected. The industry is still primitive. We need to transform it as soon as we can.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you target this period because you knew it would have more impact? I mean, politically, it's a good strategy. It makes sense, and as strategists, I wouldn't blame you.
Look, it's a complete fallacy. That's all I can say. There is no perfect timing for one to go on a strike. Yeah. We had about 14 meetings already. And I think negotiators were exhausted. They thought that there is nothing else that they can do but to go on strike. Yeah. And strikes are a last resort, honestly. But 14 meetings, you would also do the same.
Well, we've held more than 14 here at the SABC, eh?
More than 14 years, yeah. But 14 meetings for negotiators. Anybody who who is experienced in negotiating wages will tell you that it's very exhausting.
Okay. The taxi industry, were you ready?
Well, good evening to your viewers out there. No, we were not ready. I mean, we were caught, by surprise. And as a result, we never even had any contingency, plans in place. But having realized the amount of pressure that we are going to be under, we then had to send out a message to our drivers to be extra cautious on the roads, given that some would want to try and make a quick cash in. So and we said no. Let us save the lives of people. Let people arrive safely. Let's obey by the rules of the roads. Let us not do things that are unbecoming. And that does not necessarily mean that we are holy cows. We do accept that we are not a normal, if you like, industry. But believe you me, with the current decisive leadership that you have within the National Taxi Alliance, we do have a turnaround strategy.
Now, if the other sector, for instance, I don't even know if they are a sector, but they are in the sector, but the other section was not consulted to say, hey, look guys, we are going to down tools, commuters are going to be stranded, can we just give you a heads up, to prepare? Then I want to question the motive of the strike. Is it to frustrate the commuters? I mean, if taxi industry is not even given a heads up to say prepare, there may be a bigger load on your side.
Look, there were consultative structures, and the reality is that those structures are dysfunctional, and I believe we need to resuscitate them. But unfortunately, when the decision was taken and the strike notice was issued, all the newsrooms, including SABC, started calling us, meaning the information was out there publicly. So anybody, including NTA, would have known that there's going to be a strike because the notice has already been served. Until the notice is being withdrawn, there is still a strike.
Mushed, you are in Pretoria. Welcome.
Yes, Mpweni, I guess. I just want to find out from the union, because in most cases, in order for the consensus to be reached, the workforce, the employees who are paying the unions to represent them, they have to go to the streets. Are the unions really failing to negotiate for the employees? Because I've seen a number of times, you call every other labor dispute. They fail to sit on the table and reach a consensus and go back to the employees and say, this is the offer that you have asked us to represent you, and this is the offer. Most times the employees, the very same employees that are paying this union, they have to still go to the street march. Sometimes you find that even the amount that they want, they come back have lost some of the money going to the strike. And also their representative failing to really represent these employees. What's really going on?
Okay.
Look, it's not about the failure to represent employees. For a fact that we had 4 meetings, it shows the commitment from our side as an organization that represents these employees. And it is not an issue of whether somebody loses or somebody gains, because in any way, any strike comes with costs. Either from the employer side or from our side, any strike comes with the cost, and it's the strikes enshrined within our labor laws. It is not illegal to go on a strike unless you did not follow certain processes. As we speak, processes were followed, because if they were not, we would be in court. The employer would be wanting to interdict us on this strike. But everything else, we are representing them properly. And we are a mandate-driven organization. We don't take decisions by our own. We do consult, as we are consulting now on the revised offer that comes from the employer.
Okay. Jada, you are in Khayelitsha. Welcome.
Paul.
Yes, welcome. Ayat.
My question to this gentleman is one that, in our case, as members of the Zion Christian Church, we pay the buses as early as possible. Now, in this case, we have already paid. What is going to be the case with us? I'm now asking as a member of the church because we do want to converge to Moriah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he's saying, so we paid for our transport as early as January and all that. I know some. Now, what are you saying to those people? Here you are, you have called the strike. I know you're not the employers, and you probably will not even know whether there are any members, I'm assuming, who have paid for their transport since January and all that.
Look, it's an unfortunate situation. I can only say we apologize for the unfortunate situation that they find themselves in because of the strike. But the reality is that if we do not agree, the only last resort that we have is to go on a strike, which we did, unfortunately. Like I said, there is no perfect timing for
No, there is a perfect timing.
There is no perfect timing for employees to go on a strike.
No, but let's agree that there is perfect timing.
I disagree.
Okay.
There is no perfect timing.
We'll take it up. Tumelo, you are in Zerust.
Dumela re Mpotsedu.
Dumela ra.
Gentleman that side, sir. Hey, my question is, when bus drivers embark on strike, how do you communicate with all passengers, or how do you inform them before utsena striking?
Yeah. Look, since the negotiations collapsed, SATAU issued a press statement, and I should believe that when we issue a press statement, is for the consumption of members of the public. So that is how we inform public about our intentions to go on a strike. Over and above that, we do have local offices and provincial offices all over the country that also talks to local media, local radio stations, and local newspapers. So we do inform members of the public of our intention to go on a strike.
Are you supposed to take advantage of the situation, seize the moment?
Look, if the taxi industry had a pool of vehicles, that were there for contingency purposes, then your issue would be appropriate. But given our constraints, we may want to take advantage of the situation, but we need to steer clear from doing illegal things in order to try and improve on our turnaround. So yeah, we certainly cannot go out and say we were supposed to take advantage. I mean, for the fact that the issue has, as my colleague has said, on the news, although we learned very late, but there was nothing we could do, given the short space of time.
Are you impressed with that?
Well, we were not impressed, but their cost is noble,
Sure.
Given that we still are not economically emancipated.
Hold it there. Anis, you are in Rodipot. Anis?
Hey, Mpo, how are you?
I'm well, thanks for the call.
I'm good. Mpo, I just want to ask the Reverend a question with regard to the issue that he mentioned. It seems as if he was talking only about PATCO, but the people who are going to Moriah, they are not only using PATCO, they're using different kinds of bus companies.
Oh.
Now, what I want to know is that they only talking about PATCO, that is the one that is going to ferry people to Moriah, or other bus companies are going to ferry people to Moriah. That's my question.
Okay, thanks very much. Tatemtula?
No. I think I'm talking about PATCO because normally the bulk of the transport that we normally, utilize is PATCO. But at the same time, we have already spoken about the other. When I say the other, I'm referring to the very buses whose, owners were some buses other than PATCO. In other words, we are expecting, for example, all the buses in Mpumalanga and even some areas of the Free State. So, by talking about PATCO, please, just rest assured that this includes yet some other companies other than PATCO.
It would appear, we just received a call from Cape Town in Khayelitsha, where the gentleman said, look, I'm a member of the Zion Christian Church and I'm worried.
Yeah, I think as I've already collected, what I've already, learned from the gentleman around there is that, this whole issue is still going on for negotiations. And we are therefore saying in the negotiations, as a church, we still pray and even request that at the same time, there's people, the owners should not forget that we all belong to just but one country. There's Christianity, yes, not only Christianity that we have in the country. People will be ferried from one point to another. Are yet some other Christians other than the Zion Christian Church. So I think when they sit down and try to, as they put it, to solve this problem, they must please be aware that at the end of the day, we all want to be, advantaged. And the same as the various trial or some other unions that are there, they also need some prayers to can be able to continue with this. So let us give, the church leaders a chance. Okay. And we agree that obviously when they talk about, the wages, you become aware that at the end of the day, it's not something where one can say I'm having some living wage. I'm not getting into that because we obviously have our own people like the gentleman there that really represent us.
Okay, hold it there. Let's go to Mabwin. Mabwin, you in Polokwane?
Yes, Mpo. Great show.
Thanks.
Yeah, mine is just an observation and a compliment on the side of Satau. I think their strike so far has been very peaceful. And, that is really unheard of in terms of what we have seen with other industries going on strike. There are casualties and some unnecessary disruptions. Now, the challenge to Mr. Malele, if I got his name right, from the taxi industry, it's will it be the same when it's the other way around? When taxi industry is on strike, and their passengers use other modes of transport, will we see the same peaceful atmosphere as we are seeing now with the bus strike? But I'm sure he doesn't have to answer now. We'll only see at that time.
I'll get him to answer that because those ones they moor you on the road there.
Well, really, we do not condone acts of violence. Perhaps let me first start by saying what we have said to our drivers is that we cannot compromise the safety of our commuting masses, in pursuit of profits. Yeah. And we would encourage our commuters to use our toll-free number, which is 0800 113322, should they experience any such events. But look, going on strike, as we have also been on strike previously, and it is not kosher, but what we strive to do is to alert people timelessly that we will be embarking on a strike,
which is what Satau did not do.
Probably so.
Okay. Well, some Christians and people out there are saying, are you going to, as you go back to your considerations, take this into mind as well, to say, hey, there are millions of people who want to also go and worship, and by the way, as the pastor said there, pray for us as well.
Look, before we go on a strike, we sit down and we look at a number of things, including what you are talking about. So what I can say is that when we will consider their request, when we go back to our own discussions in our own caucuses, I think it is a reasonable request. We will think about it.
So what can they expect?
anything.
Okay. Well, that was question time for today. A big thank you to my guests and to you for watching the show. From me and the entire crew, I have a thought.